The discovery. The alarm blared across space station horizon, a discordant symphony that jolted Dr. Elena Reyes from deep concentration. Her hands, calloused from years of mechanical work, faltered over the disassembled communications relay she'd been modifying. The components clattered across her workbench as the station's automatic announcement system cut through the noise. Unidentified object detected in Sector 7. All senior staff report to Command Center. This is not a drill. Elena cursed under her breath, wiping grease-stained hands on her already soiled jumpsuit. At 34, she wasn't the oldest engineer on Horizon, but her reputation preceded her. The miracle worker, they called her, sometimes admiringly, sometimes not. Her unconventional approaches to engineering problems had saved the station on 3 separate occasions, but had also landed her in disciplinary hearings twice as many times. The command center buzzed with activity when she arrived. Captain Vance stood before the main view screen, his weathered face illuminated by the display. Beside him, Security Chief Toshiro and Science Officer Wong argued in hushed tones. "What's the situation?" Elena asked, approaching the group. Captain Vance acknowledged her with a nod. "Unknown vessel, approximately 2 kilometers from station perimeter. Not responding to hails. No energy signatures we recognize, but it's definitely not drifting naturally." The view screen showed a massive ship unlike anything Elena had seen before. Its hull appeared to be made of interlocking hexagonal plates that shifted color slightly as they washed, iridescent blues and purples that reminded her of abalone shells on Earth's beaches. There were no visible thrusters, weapons, or even windows. "Definitely not human design," Elena murmured, "and nothing like Centaurian or Proximan architecture either." "We've confirmed it's not from any known spacefaring species," Wong replied. "First contact protocol is in effect." "It's broadcasting something," Communications Officer Patel interjected, his fingers dancing over his console. "Not on any standard frequency, but there's a pattern. It might be a distress signal, or a weapon charging," Toshiro countered darkly. Elena studied the ship's movement. Something wasn't right. "The rotation isn't natural," she said suddenly. "Look at the axis shift. It's correcting periodically, but with diminishing control. That ship is failing." Captain Vance considered this. Assessment. "Someone's still alive in there, but systems are critically compromised." Elena turned to face the captain directly. "We need to send a team." 4 hours later, Elena found herself sealed in an environmental suit, floating through the eerie silence of space toward the alien vessel. Accompanying her were Toshiro, Wong, and Medical Officer Keisha Johnson. The boarding team had trained for first contact scenarios, but the reality of approaching a massive unknown ship made theoretical exercises seem woefully inadequate. "Remember," Toshiro's voice crackled through the comm, "no unnecessary risks. We find what's causing the distress signal, assess for threats, and report back. No heroics." This last comment seemed directed specifically at Elena, who pretended not to notice. Their entry point was what appeared to be an airlock of sorts, a hexagonal depression in the hull that responded to their approach by spiraling open with fluid grace. Inside, artificial gravity engaged suddenly, dropping them to the floor with a synchronized thud. The interior was bathed in dim, pulsating light that seemed to emanate from the walls themselves. The air, according to their suit's sensors, was breathable but thin, as though life support systems were conserving resources. "Remarkable," Wong whispered, scanning the corridor with her instruments. "The entire structure appears to be semi-organic. These aren't metal alloys. They're silicon-based composites with properties I've never seen before." Elena ran her gloved hand along the wall, feeling the subtle vibration. "It's warm," she noted, "and there's a rhythm to it, like a heartbeat, but irregular." "Life signs detected," Johnson announced. "Multiple readings ahead, but they're weak and fluctuating." Following the signals led them to what must have been the ship's bridge, a vast circular chamber with a central platform surrounded by what appeared to be control interfaces. But unlike human consoles with screens and buttons, These were flowing sculptures of the same iridescent material as the hull, pulsing with internal light patterns. And there, slumped beside these stations, were the aliens. 7 figures, each approximately 2 meters tall with slender bodies covered in scales that matched the ship's coloration. Their limbs were long and jointed differently than human appendages, and their heads featured no visible eyes, but rather a series of ridged sensory organs wrapped around where a human's face would be. "They're alive," Johnson confirmed, scanning the nearest figure. "But barely. Some kind of suspended animation state, I think. Life functions minimized almost to zero." Elena approached one of the pulsing control interfaces. Unlike the others, who maintained a cautious distance from the alien technology, she felt drawn to it. The patterns of light reminded her of something. Neural pathways, maybe, or electrical schematics. "Raise, don't," Toshiro began, but Elena had already placed her hand on the interface. The response was immediate. The entire chamber brightened, and patterns of light surged through the walls. One of the alien figures twitched, its limbs moving almost imperceptibly. "What did you do?" Wong asked, wide-eyed. Elena shook her head, equally surprised. "I just connected somehow. I think the ship recognized electrical impulses from my suit's systems." Over the next several hours, as the team set up a temporary base in the alien bridge, Elena found herself increasingly absorbed by the ship's technology. While Wong documented the biology of the aliens and Johnson monitored their life signs, Elena began to understand the fundamental principles of the vessel's operation. "It's not like our ships at all," she explained during a team briefing 20 hours into the mission. "There's no central computer, no distinct mechanical systems. The entire ship functions as a unified organism, with energy and information flowing through pathways reminiscent of a nervous system." "Can you determine why it's failing?" Captain Vance asked through the comlink. Elena nodded, despite knowing he couldn't see the gesture. "The ship uses a form of energy we don't fully understand, something like quantized ambient radiation harvesting. Their primary collection array was damaged, possibly by micrometeorite impacts or radiation exposure during long-term travel. They've been running on emergency reserves for what must be years." "And the aliens?" "They've synchronized their biological functions with the ship," Johnson added. "When power levels dropped critically low, they entered this hibernation state to preserve the remaining energy. Essentially, they're keeping their ship alive by barely staying alive themselves." "So what are our options?" Toshiro asked. Elena had been considering this question for hours, running calculations and testing interfaces. "Their technology is beyond us in many ways, but the principles are comprehensible. I think I can rig a temporary power transfer from our shuttles to stabilize their systems, enough to possibly revive them." Captain Vance's voice came through after a long pause. "The risks?" "Unknown," Elena admitted. "But doing nothing guarantees their deaths when the last reserves deplete in approximately 48 hours. Another silence followed. Elena knew what the captain was weighing. First contact protocols against humanitarian concerns, the potential threat of awakening unknown aliens against the certainty of watching them die. "Proceed with caution, Dr. Reyes," he finally replied. "But at the first sign of danger, you abort immediately." "Understood." "Understood, Captain." Over the next 36 hours, Elena barely slept. Working with materials shuttled from Horizon and components salvaged from less critical systems of the alien vessel, she constructed an energy transfer interface that could hopefully convert human power sources into something the alien ship could process. The difficulty wasn't just technical, it was conceptual. Human technology operated on distinct principles: electricity flowing through circuits, fuel burning in engines, radiation controlled in reactors. This ship functioned on harmonics and resonance, energy states that shifted and flowed rather than followed rigid pathways. "It's like trying to play a symphony using only mathematical equations," Elena explained to Johnson, who had stayed to monitor both the aliens and Elena herself. "I understand what needs to happen, but the language is all wrong." The breakthrough came unexpectedly. While attempting to calibrate the power flow, Alina accidentally cut her finger on an exposed component. A drop of blood fell onto the interface she'd been working with, and suddenly the entire section brightened, pulsing with renewed energy. Of course, she breathed, understanding flooding her mind. It's not just about electrical signals. It's about organic patterns. The ship responds to life itself. Using this revelation, Alina reconfigured her interface, incorporating biological sensors designed for medical diagnostics. The alien technology recognized these patterns, accepted the connection, and began to draw energy from the human power cells, slowly at first, then with increasing efficiency. Lights throughout the ship brightened. Systems long dormant hummed to life. And most significantly, the aliens began to stir. "They're waking up," Johnson reported, excitement and apprehension mixing in her voice. Brain activity increasing, metabolic functions accelerating. The first alien to fully regain consciousness was the one nearest to Alina's workstation. Its sensory ridges pulsed with. Dr. Katri, Earth's leading quantum physicist, leaned forward with undisguised fascination. "It's like comparing a dam to a natural river system. We build rigid structures to control energy. They shape environments that encourage energy to follow optimal paths." "Exactly," Alina agreed. "And that's why I believe we can help them. Our quantum generators create fields. Their technology shapes and amplifies those fields. Together, we could create a sustainable power source that would not only save their ship, but potentially revolutionize human energy production as well." Admiral Cho remained skeptical. "And the risks? What happens if this harmonization goes wrong?" Alina exchanged a glance with Lyra, whose sensory ridges pulsed with calm blue light. "The Resonant have safeguards we can incorporate. They've been managing quantum fields safely for generations. Our greatest risk isn't technical failure. It's missing this opportunity." After hours of debate, Admiral Cho finally authorized the project. With strict oversight and emergency protocols in place, work began immediately, converting Horizon's largest cargo bay into a specialized laboratory where human and resonant technologies could be safely integrated. The collaboration proved challenging in ways Alina hadn't anticipated. Human engineers worked with precision and methodical planning. The Resonant approached problems with intuitive adjustments based on energy patterns they could perceive, but humans couldn't detect without instruments. Cultural misunderstandings arose regularly, despite the growing sophistication of their communication interface. "They don't understand why we keep running simulations," Alina explained to Captain Vance after a particularly frustrating session. "For them, energy work is experiential. You feel the patterns and adjust accordingly. Our need to predict and control every variable seems absurdly limiting to them. And their approach seems recklessly improvisational to us," Vance observed. "Can these differences be reconciled?" Alina nodded firmly. "They have to be. Both approaches have validity, and we need both. Human precision to establish the framework, resonant intuition to perfect the harmonics." The breakthrough came during the 5th week, when Alina proposed a hybrid approach. Rather than trying to fully integrate the technologies, they would create an interface system, a mediating layer between human quantum generators and the resonance harmonic amplifiers. "Think of it as a translation matrix," she explained to the combined team. "Our generators create the initial quantum fields in a format we understand and can control. The interface converts these into patterns that resonate with their systems. Their technology then shapes and amplifies these patterns through their harmonic processors. Working day and night, human engineers constructed the physical components while resonant specialists guided the energy pattern design." Alina found herself at the center of this collaboration, often serving as the bridge between two profoundly different approaches to technology and problem-solving. The final interface resembled a circular array of crystalline structures surrounding a pulsing core of light, human-made materials arranged according to resonant principles. It was beautiful in its complexity, and when the first test activation sent ripples of blue-green energy flowing through the connected systems, Even Admiral Cho seemed impressed. Initial quantum field stability at 89%. Dr. Khatri reported, monitoring the readings. Harmonic resonance establishing across all channels. Lyra, positioned beside the resonant control node, communicated directly to Elena. Images of water flowing between vessels, light spreading through prisms, energy cycling and perpetual renewal filled her mind. "They're saying it's working," Elena translated, her voice tight with emotion. "The patterns are stabilizing, creating a self-reinforcing cycle. The more energy flows, the more efficiently the system harmonizes." Over the next 48 hours, the team gradually increased power levels, monitoring every fluctuation and making constant adjustments. The interface proved more adaptive than anticipated, learning from the energy patterns flowing through it and automatically optimizing its configurations. On the morning of the final test, tension filled the laboratory. If successful, the system would be installed aboard the resonant vessel, providing a sustainable power source that could potentially last centuries. If it failed, the best hope for saving the alien refugees would be lost. Admiral Cho insisted on full safety protocols. Station Horizon was positioned at maximum safe distance, with only essential personnel remaining aboard. Emergency shutdown systems were primed, ready to cut power at the first sign of instability. "All systems ready," Elena reported, her hand steady on the control console despite her racing heart. Commencing final integration sequence. Power surged through the quantum generators, creating fields of precisely calibrated energy. The interface matrix glowed brilliantly as it translated these fields into harmonic patterns. Aboard their vessel, now tethered to Horizon by massive power conduits, the Resonant channeled these patterns through their ship's core systems. For several tense minutes, nothing seemed to happen beyond the expected energy transfer. Then suddenly, the alien ship's hull began to glow with patterns of light that rippled outward from its core. The hexagonal plates shifted, realigning themselves with fluid grace. Energy levels rising aboard the resonant vessel, Wang reported, her voice filled with excitement. Their systems are coming fully online, not just life support, but navigation, communications, everything. Through her connection with Lyra, Elena felt a surge of emotion. Joy, gratitude, wonder that brought tears to her eyes. The images flowing into her mind showed the ship as it once was, gliding between stars with elegant purpose, its systems functioning in perfect harmony. "It's working," she whispered, then louder. "It's working. Their ship is regenerating itself, using our quantum fields as a catalyst to restart their own power generation systems." Admiral Cho approached the observation window, watching as the alien vessel transformed before their eyes. "Will they still need our generators long-term?" Elena shook her head. "No, the interface has given them what they needed, a new pattern to rebuild their own systems around. Once fully restored, their ship will generate its own sustainable energy through quantum harmonics. They're self-sufficient again." In the days that followed, as the resonant vessel completed its regeneration process, discussions turned to the future. Earth Central Command offered the aliens sanctuary, a place to rebuild their civilization within human space. The scientific and technological potential of continued collaboration was incalculable. The Resonant, through their increasingly sophisticated communication with Elena and other human interfaces, expressed profound gratitude, but also a desire to continue their journey. Their purpose, embedded deeply in their collective consciousness, was to find others like themselves, other fragments of their civilization that might have escaped the catastrophe that destroyed their homeworld. On the day of their departure, Elena stood in Horizon's observation deck, watching as final preparations were made. Lyra joined her, their presence now familiar and comforting. The images that flowed between them needed no translation. Stars and planets, different species meeting in harmony, knowledge and culture exchanged across vast distances, and underlying it all, a promise. They would return, bringing whatever discoveries and fellow travelers they found in the cosmos. "They're not just leaving," Elena explained to Captain Vance and Admiral Cho, who had come to witness the departure. They're becoming our ambassadors. The interface technology we developed together gives them a way to communicate with other species they might encounter, a foundation for understanding across profound differences. As the resonant vessel disengaged from horizon, its hull glowing with vibrant patterns of blue-green light, it sent one final transmission, not in words or even direct images, but in harmonics that resonated through Horizon's communication systems and registered as music. A gift, Elena explained, listening to the hauntingly beautiful patterns. Their understanding of quantum harmonics translated into a form we can perceive directly. They believe this will help us develop our own harmonic technologies further. The alien ship accelerated smoothly, its movement graceful and purposeful, then vanished in a flash of light that bent the fabric of space itself, a method of faster-than-light travel that human scientists had only theorized about. In the silence that followed, Admiral Cho turned to Elena. "I've received new orders from Earth Central. They want you to lead a dedicated research division, focused on developing the technologies you created for this encounter. The quantum harmonic principles you've helped discover could transform human civilization." Elena watched the stars where the resonant ship had disappeared, feeling both loss and possibility. We only scratched the surface of what's possible. Their understanding of energy and matter, our human ingenuity and practical application. Together, we achieved something neither could have done alone. Humanity, working alongside aliens to overcome impossible odds, Captain Vance mused. Not exactly how I imagined first contact would go. Elena smiled, remembering the flow of images and emotions she'd shared with Lyra. The resonant have a concept that doesn't translate well into words. The closest I can express it is different notes creating harmony. They see the universe as a composition of diverse energies that, when properly aligned, create something greater than the sum of their parts. Poetic, Admiral Cho commented. Practical, Elena corrected. And the foundation of a new chapter in human technological development. The interface we created isn't just a power source. It's a new way of thinking about energy, matter, and maybe even consciousness itself. As Horizon resumed its regular operations, now supplemented by research teams eager to study the quantum harmonic principles demonstrated in the interface, Elena found herself looking outward more often. Somewhere among the countless stars, the resonant continued their journey, carrying with them a piece of human ingenuity, just as humanity now carried the gift of their harmonic understanding. Different notes, creating harmony, different species, advancing together. And at the intersection, endless possibilities waiting to be discovered.